everybody? You ready? All right, let's call the Budget Committee of Thursday, September 16th to order. All right, we should be live on TV. Mics look like they're on. I'm John Decker. I was vice chair last year. So with the previous chair's term ended, he didn't re-up, so I get to chair today's meeting. Go ahead, Tom, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Thomas Bakevich. I've been on, this is my second year on Budget Committee.
Jeff Morrison, first time doing this.
I'm Michael Keister, been doing this a while.
I'm Sandra Jones, and I think this is my third year going on.
Second, third year?
I'm Sean Green, also my second year.
And Carol Martin, I'm the school board rep, and I previously served on budget committee before school board.
Robert Kelly, first year.
Michelle King, like Sandra, it's my third term. Second 3-year term. Yeah.
Tom LeVay, this is my 2.5 year
Right.
anniversary.
All right, so, well, welcome new people, first of all. It's
Yes.
good to have you. Let's look at the minutes. So we have 2 sets of outstanding minutes. So from like January 12th and the 14th, would somebody make a motion on that, or?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Seconded.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns? Should we do them separately, or both is fine if?
At the same time, is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Abstentions? We probably should have a couple of abstentions, actually. For people who aren't
They
here.
don't have to,
Oh,
but
they looked at.
They don't have to, but, they don't really have to, but it's fine.
And approved.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So the first real, I guess, the next piece of business would be nominations for a chair and a vice chair, and then committee assignments.
Do you want to do it, John?
No,
You got a lot
I
of
don't,
experience.
I don't want to do this.
your name tag already says
I
chair.
have,
Say some meek.
Yep, it already says chairman.
I have too much stuff going on. So
I'll nominate Michelle King for chair.
Second.
Thank you.
Do you want to do it, Michelle?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it would be a good experience. Yeah. Thank you.
okay, so we have one nomination. Any other people? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of Michelle as chair? Raise a hand.
Do I not vote? Do I vote?
Hmm?
I don't know if I vote or not.
You're happy? It depends.
Right.
You
All right.
can make a ruling on that.
All right. So 10 in favor? No, congratulations,
Awesome.
Michelle.
Thank you, guys.
Do you want to take over, or?
It doesn't matter to me. I can.
I mean, I can go through the rest today, so.
Okay.
All right. How about nominations for a vice chair?
What does it?
Consider doing that again?
I'd
I'd like to nominate you if you would.
I can do that in support of Michelle if she wants, or if somebody else is interested in doing it, I will help no matter what. But if you want me to be vice chair, I'll be vice chair, but
I'd like you to
if
be
somebody
vice
else
chair.
wants to be vice chair, speak up, please.
I second that. I'd like to nominate John Decker for vice chair.
Seconded.
All right, any other nominations? Oh, come on.
Anybody else
All right.
wants to give it a go?
All in favor of John Decker as vice chair, raise your hand. Opposed? No, I'll just. All right. Okay. Committee assignments. So, we have the CIP committee, school facilities, school facilities, we have the SAU, it was the SAU withdrawal, but now it's the transition, and I'm not sure if we have any others. Did I miss any other committees that anybody remembers? All right, so last year,
Oh, transportation, actually, we do have we're gonna do an RFP for the school bus. It's a really low, commitment, not a heavy lift. But we are gonna do a new bus contract.
and you want a budget?
That's how I got on it originally, was through budget committee.
Okay,
So it's not, there's no meeting schedule yet. I'm the school board rep to transportation. And we could use some community members too, so. But we should have one this year because we're gonna do a new contract.
I'll do the transportation.
all right, so, Tom has volunteered for transportation. Is anybody opposed to that?
Mm-mm.
All right, so somebody want to make a nomination?
I'll nominate Tom for, as the budget committee representative for the transportation committee.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? No opposed? Excellent.
I would like to continue as representative to the school facilities committee. Somebody wants to take that?
I think I want to be like involved, but I don't know if I'll be able to commit to the meetings because I think they're going to be a little bit earlier in the day. So,
3:30 in the afternoon.
yeah, so,
They were last year.
Is facilities the one that deals with the addition plans?
yeah, I am interested in, maybe we can just talk offline later, like after.
All right,
I think they do have community reps as well.
Mhm. I think I might do that.
anybody else interested in that, or?
I've been serving as the alternate, and I will continue with that.
Okay.
The world will have me.
Yeah, I think that's a
All
good
right,
idea.
so do we have a nomination for that?
Do we need to nominate him since he's already,
I think it would be the right thing to do.
oh, okay.
I don't know, I mean,
I'll nominate Michael Keister for the budget committee representative for the school facilities committee.
a second,
Second.
okay. All in favor? Should we nominate Sandra for alternate?
I nominate Sandra Jones for alternate rep to the school facilities committee.
I'll second. Whoever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sandra? You opposed?
I'm not interested. I didn't know that I could vote for myself. I suppose you can.
All right, all right, so that's school facilities.
Vote against myself, yes.
I would like to continue on the SAU transition committee.
I'll nominate John, oh, if anybody else wants to.
Anybody
it?
else want to do it?
No? Okay. I'll nominate John Decker for the budget committee representative for the SAU transition committee.
And I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? So what else we have? We have school facilities, SAU transition. All right, so CIP is the last one, which was Michelle last year, and Michael was, Michelle, and then Tom was alternate. I assume you probably don't want to do that. if you're gonna do this other one, or
No, that's true.
and you may not wanna do it as.
We didn't really, I don't even, I think maybe we had one meeting. I don't think anything really, like, much came of it.
Mhm.
So,
I know for the school, we're definitely gonna be taking a hard look at it and revising.
Okay.
We talked about doing that in the next 3 or 4 weeks so that we can have it ready
okay.
early, so.
Do you know
But I
what,
don't think it'll be a lot of meetings.
Okay,
There
that's what I was
definitely will be a
gonna ask.
meeting, but probably not a lot.
and probably not early in the day?
That could be scheduled around
Okay,
whoever's available.
okay. Yeah, I can continue to do the CIP, yeah.
Does anybody else want it? Okay, how about a nomination? Somebody?
Nominate Michelle King for the CIP committee. Budget committee rep.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So that takes care of CIP, school facilities, SAU transition, school transportation. Any other committees that we may have left off that I don't recall? All right, hearing none, I guess that takes care of that. All right, so Tyler's not here today, so I assume we have no reports from the town.
Did I send anyone else?
So,
He just told me like a half an hour before that he
yeah.
updated work.
All right, and, all right, so Carol, it's up to you on anything school financial stuff.
So, just a sort of overall update on what's going on. The SAU withdrawal passed, so we are very busy with the transition committee trying to get that planned. We have most of the same people, but then we've added a couple of school representatives, community representative. I think we still have one more seat left. So it's a bigger committee, but we are really trying to deal with all the cost impacts early so that we can appropriately budget for this year. So that lump sum that used to be the SAU now has to get allocated to new budget lines and figure out, and hopefully reduced, and figure out what all the costs are gonna be. So that's actively meeting the first and third Tuesdays at 6:30 at the school. So we'll have another meeting next week. So that is bleeding over into facilities because one of the major decisions is where to put the SAU office, and that is also going to impact the facilities committee. So they did a walkthrough, I think, today of the Old Town Hall, the facilities committee and not the transition committee. So when they are taking another look at the building plans from last year, I think part of what we'll be looking at is, do we need to plan some office space that wasn't planned for, maybe repurpose some of the classrooms that we had been planning on doing. And at some point we have to make a decision about whether to go forward with the building addition this year or not. So we're having that estimate re-evaluated, and the plans are, we're taking another look. We're not just gonna go straight with what we had done before necessarily. So the facilities committee will be very busy. And so definitely need input on that. Financially, we have an estimated, unaudited fund balance from this past fiscal year, so that ending June 30th of 2021, of $430,000. So that, again, that's unaudited, but that would go to offset the tax rate, so that the SAU, sorry, not the SAU, the school. So what I'm not sure of, actually, now that I said that, is we only retain a very small percentage so that we have cash in the bank to pay the bills. So I'm not sure if that includes, if that comes out of that 430, but it's roughly 430. And then we have gotten a number of COVID-related grants. So I just added them up. And so between CARES, SPS RF 1 and 2, and ESSER 2, we got about 330,000. We have not spent all of the ESSER 2 money, and that goes through next year. And then ESSER 3, we were told, is another 240,000, and that goes till 2024, I think. And we're more restricted than the town is on how we can spend, and the expenditures have to be approved by the state. So we can't use them for capital projects, but we can use them. So some of the things we've used them for is the I-Wave filtration system for the air. We've used it for technology, so we were able to spend less on our technology budget last year because we used the SBS RF grants for that. So we have a lot more Chromebooks and other technology because of the remote learning last year than we used to have. So there's a number of other things that it was used for. For this year, we are doing a stipend for a COVID coordinator, which is an additional role for the nurse. We're adding a math interventionist, and a 504 coordinator is a stipend. So that's some of the stuff that we've used that for. So we just, the new fiscal year's just started, so we don't have I don't have a like report of what we spent. The school just started 2 weeks ago.
Right, yeah, no, I would expect this stuff from like last
Yeah,
year.
the big news is we've lost our business administrator at the SAU. He was contracted through a company and he took a full-time job. So he's leaving next week. So it will be, depending on when we schedule for this committee, it's gonna be probably a month before we have a replacement service or person.
Mhm.
So it's rather challenging to hire somebody when the position will be eliminated in 9 months.
Any idea on the staffing of the, quote, SAU?
So the transition committee has been reevaluating what we recommended as the planning committee, and we're sticking pretty closely to what we had recommended with some small tweaks to that, but it would be a part-time superintendent, hopefully a retired either principal or superintendent who has the superintendent certification, and then a full-time either business administrator or finance manager. They don't technically have to have the BA certification, but that would be a full-time position because then there would just be one like bookkeeper / payroll under that person. So that one is more, at the current SAU, there's multiple bookkeepers under the business administrator. And then there's a few other, so like we're hoping to roll HR into one of the other positions.
Yeah,
Looking at John, because
it's hard because
Have them do it all.
and then a director of student services, which we already have a coordinator, so those two roles will probably get combined.
right, there's got to be some combination of some roles and making sure that we put good job descriptions out there because we need to get the right people.
But for at least the superintendent, finance manager, bookkeeper, we need somewhere for them to have office space, and it has to be privacy and locked files and those types of things, so that complicates it a little bit. So we have two big potential projects happening in the 6-month period.
The things that you guys voted on last night, like the increase in the substitute pay, is that stuff that has to go through the budget committee? Or
So no, we had like 32,000 budgeted for substitutes, so that line will cover, and if we end up going over on that line, we'll use some of the
COVID money?
ESSER 2 money.
Okay.
Because it's because of COVID that one, has staffing shortages, and two, we've discovered that we're losing substitutes because all the neighboring districts are paying more. It's a per day pay rate, and ours equated to like $10 an hour.
Yeah, ours is like
It's really
$75 and everyone else is like $100,
Yeah.
$95
Yeah,
more.
What are you going up to?
100.
100.
It makes sense to use COVID grant money for that because there's probably a good number of people that are out for that reason.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Everyone's
there will
looking
be
for
some throughout
substitutes.
the year, and it's just really hard to get subs period right now, so.
Yeah,
Well, the reality is, substitute pay has not gone up probably in, I don't know how many years.
yeah, yeah.
That $75 number's been there for,
Forever.
I taught for 32 years, I don't think it ever went up. You know, so, you know, if you want good substitutes, or if you want an abundance of them, you
Pay it.
gotta increase the pay.
I guess I'll add to the health insurance rates for this year came in less than we had budgeted, so that will be a savings. We're down, right now, we're down, one bus for Dover High School, and we're temporarily down one bus for the regular school, so we're gonna end up saving some on that. The Dover bus maybe for the whole year, so we may end up saving for the whole year. So that they only have one bus instead of two. And then the tuition based on current enrollments is gonna be, high school tuition is gonna be lower than what we budgeted.
That's great.
Is that causing a problem? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter budget-wise, but just curious if that's the buses that are causing a problem.
The shortage for the elementary, middle school is causing a problem, and so some of the buses are having to do a double run, a longer run. So I don't know how much we'll end up saving there, because they'll probably add, that driver's driving 2 runs, at least in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So, but the high school bus, we won't have to pay for the second bus, because it's not running at all.
They'll give us a credit, right?
It's just a very full bus in the morning.
But
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Carol, the unspent money from last year, is that available as a spreadsheet that shows how much was unspent for each line item?
If you look, if we got a budget report dated June 30th, you could see line by line what was spent, yeah.
Right,
Is there
yeah.
any way you can email that to me?
I can request it.
Yeah,
Thank
that,
you.
that would be great if that was kind of what we
I
should
could
be
look back
looking
in my
at.
packet, but I probably don't have one for the whole year.
Mhm.
I remember at the end of the budget process, we recommended a cut. It was like right at the end. I'd be interested in seeing where that cut was
So we
facilitated.
did not fill 2 para positions that were, we had 2 paras that did not return, and we did not fill them, so we're down 2 paras for the whole year.
and an athletic
That's-
director, right?
That's the bulk of it. What?
And an athletic director?
No, we still have.
Oh, I thought Mr. Doherty left.
He's leaving as a para, but that's only like $1,000,
Oh, okay.
$2,000 stipend. He said he would serve as an athletic director unless somebody else steps up and
Oh,
does it, but yeah. No, so that doesn't count, so we just lost another para. That doesn't count, the 2 that were down doesn't count him,
okay.
so but they'll try to fill his position. So, yeah, that absorbed most of that additional cut.
The SAU transition, is that all on track, or things that need to be done being done on time?
So we don't have a choice of doing it on time or not, but the biggest obstacle we have is the location right now.
Right. Well, no, someone had told me that someone's been dragging their feet. They didn't want to tell me exactly what, but
I would not say we've been dragging our feet, we've been meeting.
Yeah.
are there like milestones that are kind of set that need to be met, or is it just a thing where there's one big deadline at the end that needs to be?
It's pretty much one big deadline at the end at this point, because the first deadline, I mean, there were deadlines with the withdrawal committee, because you had a report that was due to the state, and,
There was a
meetings
hearing.
and stuff that had to happen. Right now, with the transition, it's like, okay, get everything in place. We don't have specific dates of, one of our goals would be to get the business person hired early, to start getting some stuff in place as far as accounts and things like that, and get that set up. But, we still need to identify exactly what we want to do. I mean, but like Carol said, space is the concern. We've been looking at the old town hall to see what we could do there.
But like with these people that need to be hired, like the business person, are those job postings, are they out already?
They're
Are they
not out
posted?
yet, no, and They're not.
Because we can't hire them till July 1st, but what we talked about doing for some of the positions, probably just the superintendent and the BA, would be trying to get somebody willing to come on as a contracted, hourly rate or whatever it is, for a part-time, just to help get everything set up. So that's what Stratford did, and they still weren't ready to go on July 1st. And so SAU 44 was still running their payroll and their accounts payable for them, because they didn't have everything transitioned over. And they didn't have the space issue, because they have a building on site that wasn't being used. I think it was supposed to be a preschool, and they don't use it. But they still didn't have everything ready. So we know that, and we're working against that deadline. But for budgeting purposes, we need to know in the next couple months, so we can't wait until the spring to figure that.
Yeah, it's tough because you can't really hire somebody until that next year, a year away, almost. So,
We will be advertising early for at least those two higher level positions.
Do all the schools generally run on this same financial calendar where it starts and stops there?
I believe so.
So if someone's in a different position, they would want to line something up for when their current contract ends?
Yes, but I
Most schools have
don't,
the same.
Yeah, so it's probably not too early.
but since we're looking for a part-time superintendent, you're probably not looking for somebody who necessarily is in a full-time role now, unless they were ready to retire and planning to retire.
Yep, we're good, yeah.
So what happens with SAU 44?
It would
It's a
be
s-
Northwood.
Right,
It's just
right,
one.
It would just be Northwood.
So Northwood's in more of a scramble because they didn't spend a year planning, and now they're forced to go through the same transition we are, but they didn't plan for it.
Right, but they're kind of have everything in place.
But they can't
But they're-
afford it by
they can't-
themselves.
they
It's just
can't
gonna
afford it by
cost them
themselves.
2 or 3 times what it normally
Yeah.
does.
Yep.
And they've been depending on us to help fund that because we've been paying the majority of it. So,
Is a retired superintendent position, even as a part-timer, is the credentials of that person a little bit strong for what we need? In terms of level?
what do you mean?
Well, usually a superintendent is in charge of, multiple towns and multiple schools and,
It depends on the SAU, on the district.
There's a fair number of single district SAUs around, so it's not,
yeah, but they're large. Like, you take a Concord.
No, well, no.
No, I
not-
mean,
no,
like,
look at Chester, for instance. Chester is very similar to us in size. Actually, they have pretty much an identical school.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. It's like flipped, right?
I think Barrington is single, I mean, they have,
Barrington's a little bit bigger than we are.
I mean, they have an elementary and a middle school, so yeah, their enrollment's a little bit bigger, but they're not huge, and it's not
But
multiple.
we were talking about, Gilmington's a little smaller than us, and they have a part-time superintendent that's only 2 days a week.
Okay.
So there's plenty, and
Yeah, I was just thinking of the per diem
and Stratford.
rate.
And Stratford.
yeah, I mean, Stratford for an example. So I think that there's,
I'm more worried about finding a BA than I am a
yeah,
superintendent.
exactly, me too. that's
So,
my biggest concern
Already a
is getting,
critical shortage in the state.
because that's the person that's gonna be the most important.
Is that part-time or full?
That's a full-time role, so that's gonna help us. So, all right, anything else from the school?
Is the school still planning to put forward a bond for a school addition?
So that's what I was just saying, the facilities committee is getting new cost estimates, reevaluating the plan. I think it's possible that we'll have to find a space on that plan for office space, because I'm just not convinced we're gonna find a permanent home for the superintendent, but, we'll see. That's-
Are they willing to put office space in modulars? I know they're highly resistant to putting classroom space in modulars.
So the transition committee is looking at all of those options, and that may be one of the options that we,
Yeah, and
But yeah.
it seems like it's gonna be a hard sell with enrollment, because I just got the new figure from the superintendent, and it was 484, which is pretty low compared to
there's
high as
still
many years ago.
For the
many people
modulars?
out. 'Cause of-
For the modulars?
No, the enrollment.
Oh, okay.
The enrollment numbers
Thousands for the
at the
modulars, I
school
was
right
like,
now
wow,
are
that's cheap.
484.
Yeah.
Which is
Okay.
still impacted by COVID. There's still a lot
Right.
of students who are not going.
Yeah, but a lot of students that have gone to homeschooling in private schools may choose to stay there. A lot of people are pretty unhappy with the school and the mask policies and things like that.
So both of, I guess, transition committee will be looking at all the options, but the facilities committee will be reevaluating the building plan, and the rental space across the street unfortunately is not available as a backup anymore. So that was
Right.
the planning committee's kind of plan B,
Man.
and that got rented, so that's no longer an option.
Are you guys done considering the room at the back of this building?
No, that's actually one of the ones.
Okay. I heard it
You
was
mean
uninhabitable.
The way
but
back, or you mean the side room here?
they say there's a really moldy.
Oh, in the way back?
In the way
That's-
back.
That's.
Not the way back, but the
Okay.
one right next to the food
All right.
pantry.
Yeah,
The way back is uninhabitable, but
Right.
the
that needs major.
the one next to the
renovation.
food pantry is
Okay, that one.
Right, and that's.
at least capable of being renovated.
And that's still potentially an option, although the select board are really pushing us more towards the old town office because it's vacant, it needs some TLC at this point.
Massive work.
Right, it needs some TLC and it's, it's not getting the love it needs.
It would be nice to have something in there. It's
Yeah.
kind of just collecting dust right now. Didn't seem that bad. I was in there a year or so ago.
So they let, the pipes burst.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah,
So the
so,
Is that because no
water
heat?
and plumbing is, yep.
Right?
yeah, so it needs a whole new,
You either put heat in or you drain the water.
it needs a whole new heating system.
Pretty simple.
Catch the floor.
I guess it still technically runs, but it's not reliable.
So it's worse than it was a year ago, apparently. I haven't looked at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's mostly gutted, which is kind of nice. So, all right, you good? All right, so committee reports, all right, Michelle and or Tom, you guys didn't have any meetings, I assume?
No. Nope, nothing for CIP.
Okay. School facilities,
Yeah, we had a meeting today, first since the election. And in that meeting, it was kind of a short, quick meeting because most of the members were in the process of touring the town hall offices for the SAU transition. But when we all convened at the facilities meeting, we pretty much agreed that we would be looking toward putting the bond forward again for the 2022 vote. And there, like Carol indicated, there will be some review of the plan that was proposed before and see if there are ways to cut that somewhat to accommodate some of the voters' reservations about what they were asked to vote on last March or last June, actually. But I think you can pretty much expect that there will be a retry of that project again this coming March. The reason being that the plan did not pass last year, but the need to not go away. Yeah, the enrollment's down a little bit, but the enrollment wasn't real full through most of last year either. So we're not trying to accommodate a large number of people, but what people really need to understand is that the facility that was built back in 1995 was for a whole different model of education than what we are experiencing today. The idea that you could have rows of students in classrooms and being lectured to and told to memorize things is no longer the way education is being run today. And it's much more collaborative. People work in teams. They require more space in those teams, breakout session areas, things like that. And listen to the principal explain how that all works. The reason for it, this Nottingham school was in a period of school in need of improvement for several years back in the early 2010s, and has since been using this new model of education that has boosted test scores, boosted student achievement, boosted academic readiness for high school in a very substantial way. And it's really working well for them, but they're having to do things in hallways that should be done in classrooms. And so that need has not changed, even though we're dealing with 484 people in enrollment. It's still not fitting the physical space. But we will be looking at the architectural plan that was submitted last year and seeing where in that plan there are opportunities to save some money by trimming out some things that may have been thought of as ornamental. I don't think there's much of that, but we'll look. And the construction manager was in attendance this afternoon, and he indicated that where things are currently in terms of price of materials and things, as you saw if you paid any attention to lumber prices over the summer, building materials have been way higher than normal inflation. And so right now, if we were to start building today, it would be more like a $7 million project on that plan. We anticipated that if you don't pass the plan as presented, it's not going to get cheaper, it's going to get more expensive. And sure enough, I think that there will be some costs set in terms of what the peak of lumber prices that occurred back in July has contracted somewhat, where it ends up by the time construction does begin, whenever that may happen. I don't know what the cost will be, but that's something that the construction manager brought to our attention, was that our $6.1 million job is now a $7 million job as is, given the cost of materials today.
Did he give any sense of the interest rates when they're
Oh, he did mention that bond rates have remained quite stable. So there's that going for us in a big way. And hopefully it continues to maintain that through the next however many months it takes to get this thing underway.
Is there any option to do the same things last year, apply for the state funds?
No, that's a biennial program.
So we're still in the pool.
Whatever we did, it's been done.
It's still in, yeah.
Now, if the state says the programs that were in the running for funding last year, for whatever reason, get pulled and are no longer in contention, then they'll go down the list to projects that are waiting. And ours is always down the list. So.
I heard we didn't have a very good shot at that. Was it that the school was originally designed when they built it in late 90s for 600 students?
No, actually, the space requirements was one of the strong attributes for Nottingham School.
Oh no, I don't mean in terms of the building aid thing. I just meant when the school was built. My understanding, I wasn't in town at that time, that the school was built, planned for a future where it'd be 600 students.
Yeah, in 1995, I think you're correct. I think
Yeah.
it was something like that. But
I thought it was
that
What
was
less.
students
also-
we have now?
That was also in the old model of
Well,
education.
Right.
I thought it was less than that. I thought it
I
was
think for
only,
In a
600.
normal year, we have like 520.
yeah.
Well, they definitely
Yeah,
planned for 30
yeah, I thought it was only
years.
like 500, a
Yeah.
bit over 500, not,
Okay.
not,
Well, we're at
Yeah.
but still, we're,
484 today.
right.
Right, but you're trying to talk about apples and oranges here, because
Well, right, you got this new inefficient model where you have 2 teachers in every classroom. It's like, what, 1 teacher to 12 students now? Is that around what the number is,
No.
Carolyn?
No.
Well, okay, when I say teacher, I'm including, you have like a paraprofessional in the room. I was told there's like 2 faculty or there's 2 teachers in every room.
Not always.
You have a paralegal that's in there helping
Okay,
kids that are
professional.
on IEPs and whatnot.
All right, well,
And they
in
have-
layman's terms, I would call the paraprofessional a teacher. I would call that 2 teachers in the
It's
room.
not 2 teachers. One's
Right. Well,
one's not a certified teacher.
Sure, but if
But
there's
is it,
2, if there's 2 adults standing up and teaching the
Right.
class full of kids,
It's not
I
all
would
the
call it 2
classes, though.
teachers.
It's
is it
not
still
all.
designed though for 600? Is that true?
Hmm?
Is that a true statement? Is it designed for 600?
If you
No,
put
520
35
is.
kids in a classroom, you could fit 600.
I wasn't here.
Either way, the move to this new model, while it may have produced better results, it has, substantially boosted the tax rate in this town. It has doubled the amount that people are paying for schooling in this town. And just because it improved some metrics does not justify spending this much money year over year and having 10% tax increases. We could give the students an even better education by sending them all to Phillips Exeter Academy, but we can't afford it. And the taxpayers in this town are being bled dry. And I think people need to remember that. When you say that there's going to be, looking at cost reduction for the addition on the school, what kind of reduction factor are we talking on that? Like a 10% reduction?
In order to bring the project from 7 million down to 6.1, the construction manager said you have to trim off about 4,000 square feet of addition.
Yeah, that's a 13% reduction.
No, that's not a 13% reduction.
No, from 7 million to
Oh.
6.1 million. That's only a 13% reduction.
I know, in order to achieve that, you gotta take away about 4,000 square feet.
Right. Yeah, but I think you're missing the point here. You're trying to take a project that when you first tried to sell it to the town, when you invited the townspeople to all come to the first meeting and there was free food and everything, they said it was going to be $2 million. And then a few months later, it was $3 million. And then it was $4 million. And then it was $5 million. And then it was $7 million. And then when you add the interest on that, it's $8 million. And you put this in front of the voters, and the voters said no. Big time. It lost big time. And people are not going to go vote yes when it's only 13% less. We're getting it down to 6 or 7 is not going to make it pass. You need to have actual reduction. Maybe there is a space issue, but there are ways to address it without spending $8 million. Like modulars for office
Yeah,
space.
that's
You
what I was
refuse
gonna
to
ask.
consider
Right.
these types of things.
There's got to be other
I think
options.
it's-
It's just shortages of
This seems
supplies.
like a debate
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
facilities
this
committee
is
and not
right.
for the.
Sure, I know.
Right.
I'm laying out like how I feel on the budget committee so that you can relay these thoughts to the people on the facilities committee and when they're talking about the addition. Because if the plan is we're going to reduce the cost by 13% and bring it back to the voters, you're just going to lose again. And then the question I have is if that is your plan, how much money are you going to spend on architects and designs and plans? Because the amount of money that got spent in the last few years on these plans and paying for architects and plans and free food at meetings and stuff, you guys spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this stuff. You could have bought all the modulars you need for this space with all that money that was wasted on these plans.
Let's bring it
Okay.
down a little.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all right, he's just reporting back.
Right.
He's just reporting back what they've talked
I know,
about.
and I'm letting him know.
But
No.
to hate to waste money.
No, I get it.
This is what the people on that committee can
Right.
expect to hear from me if their plan is to reduce the cost by 13%.
You could
I have
go to their
Bad
meetings.
time to build.
Go to their meetings.
Say that to the facilities committee.
And maybe I will.
I
I
think
come
you
and
would
said
be
things at
more
all of
welcome.
them.
I would love to see
But
you
that's the
there.
place
I
you
really
should go.
would.
I'm just trying to set the tone right from the
I
beginning.
have been a person that's
Yeah.
adamantly saying there's there are conservative people on the budget committee, I've even named you and said, this is what he's saying. But I'm saying what you're saying, and that's not, you need to be saying what you're saying.
I know, I
And
have,
you need to-
I
and
will
then
come
we
to
tell
the
you
meetings
what
if I
they're
can.
saying. The conversation needs to be direct.
Right, it needs to go to that committee.
I come to
So-
school board meetings and yell at them too. I just,
He does.
every meeting.
He does.
Come on over. My point is, we can't be effectively saying what you say, and I can't really be effectively relaying to you what the other members of our committee said. You need to be there engaging in that
So
conversation.
it's just the messenger. I get it.
And can I also suggest that if you intend to be constructive, come prepared to listen as well.
I've heard all the plans, I've heard all the
That doesn't
arguments,
sound
yeah.
Prepared to listen. I don't have.
And this is going on for 2 years.
It's up to the
so-
taxpayers in the end, right? They're either gonna vote on it or
Yeah.
they're not gonna vote on it, right? We can go round and round and round all day long. It's
Yeah.
up to the taxpayers.
It is.
Right.
And I think,
It's up to
Bottom
the-
line, they're either gonna approve it, they're not gonna approve it
Yeah.
like this time.
And my advice is the taxpayer is not
inflation
gonna
here, it's
approve
not gonna
something
weigh.
that's 13% less than what they voted down the year before.
Right, I mean, yes. I mean,
If you came in half the price, then maybe you would change
Well,
some minds.
All right,
but, yeah.
so you made a great point in saying the first initial proposal was only $2 million. You know, and when it was at the warrant article, over 6 million. You know, that's,
that is a lot, yeah.
Steep.
yeah, it's 300%.
They get, well, you tell them it's gonna be $2 million, and then people think nice warm thoughts, and they think, I do think the school should get an addition, that doesn't sound too bad.
I don't
And then you
think it was
slowly
$2 million.
ratchet it up a little
Because I
bit.
think
No,
you need
I-
to check the facts on that, because $2 million was never discussed.
Was it
That was
three?
what they said.
Yeah,
That
at
was
the
what
very
they said at
beginning.
that very first meeting.
It might have been.
I know because every meeting that I went to after that, I said what they said the previous meeting. I had kept a running total at the meeting.
I wanted to say something if I could when he's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, go.
The reason why I'm so interested in the facilities committee is because I think exploring another option like a modular system, I don't know if you guys have done that before, but I know my kids used to go to Stratum, SAU 16, and they have a phenomenal SAU. They've had a portable for their pre-K for a very long time. It's just a Band-Aid, right, for like a 10-year span, but it's enough for us to have the town recover from COVID again, right? A lot of us were contractors. A lot of us didn't work. We had to put our jobs on hold. Let's give the taxpayers, I think, time to recover from the financial burden that we all felt from COVID and explore other options. And I'm not saying that I don't think that there isn't a space issue. I'm saying that other SAUs that are they're very well-known, they have great students, great teachers, they have found a way to properly secure the students who are inside. They switched to badge systems. Switching to the badge systems and getting portables, modular classrooms for teachers has been done in other towns. And I think it's not fair to only give one outrageously expensive option to the taxpayers. If you're gonna ask them, why not, let's give them two options. Why not give them 3 options? Because there's many ways to solve our problem. And I think we're just hyper-focused on this one idea. And I think it's too soon to bring it back to the community to vote on it. And not giving them any more options, just saying this is the only way and we're gonna keep giving it to you until you vote yes.
Have we done a poll, just maybe a survey via the phone to get feedback from the public as to why they voted no? So that maybe you can address some of those concerns or whatever.
I'm not aware of that having been done.
That might be a good thing to do also, is just to try to get more information. I mean, you can look at the results of the voting, and it was clearly defeated. So to turn around and put it before the voters again, I think you're wasting your time, honestly. And I'm not necessarily against the project. I think.
Right.
At the meeting today, we decided that there was a need to develop 2 subcommittees. One focused more on the building design itself and how it meets the needs and what needs to give to make that work. and the other subcommittee being a subcommittee for doing a better job of communicating to the public. And I don't think that happened last year. I don't think there were, well, because of COVID primarily, we didn't really have a good opportunity to get the message out about how things are different than they were in 1995.
I think the message got out fine. There
Me
were you guys did direct mailers to everybody in town. There were multiple meetings. It was on TV. There was
I thought
a
you guys
website
did,
about
I
it.
thought they did a great job
Yeah, I
in
think they
covering
did a lot of
everything.
that. Yeah.
You guys are more plugged into what's going on in town than the population at large.
But we can't force people to come if, I mean, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them
Well,
drink.
that's why there's a committee to reach out to people, to reach out to the general population, so that we don't end up with a few days of the election and people are not even understanding that this was an issue, that this was going to be on the ballot. And we ran into that, and that's what I'm hoping
It wasn't a
doesn't
last
happen
minute
next
thing.
year.
The election kept getting postponed, so there was education before
Yeah.
the first election date, and then the election got moved, and there was more time for education, and there were more direct mailers, and then there were direct mailers right before the argument that the taxpayers weren't properly educated about the needs of the school on this project is laughable. The reason it failed is because you were asking for millions and millions and millions of dollars on a ballot that right before that question was the school budget coming in with an 8% increase after a year when it was a 7% increase and then a 6% increase. People's tax bills have gone through the roof. Like, they notice that, and then you can't just put a $7-8 million thing on there and expect them to vote yes on it.
And people may have already had their minds made up if they're not, in tune with what's going on. Maybe they're already made their mind up, so they don't, they don't have kids in school. I'm not saying that, I'm saying that it could happen, that people have already had their minds made up since they're not using those facilities and for the school. I mean, it's a real thing.
The school had a backup plan if the bond article didn't pass, that they had some plan to do modulars or something, some sort of emergency space thing, and it was going to be
never heard
like
anything.
That's what they've been doing
$100,000.
since 2008, and the first build plan failed. They've already exhausted all those options.
They've been denying it since 2008.
Michelle, to your point about modules.
I like your
yes.
options though. More options are better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
To your point about modules, that has been explored. And it's been explored in depth, and they did cost analysis on it, and they determined that because of the short-term nature for which these are designed over the period of the lifespan of a building, it does not compare.
Would we be able to see that? Would we be able to see and compare for ourselves, so that way we can know, is that, at the $6 million now, but with interest in over 20 to 30 years, it becomes $8 million. Well, we could do a cost analysis and, really look at what's going on with one option versus the other and see if in 20 or 30 years, we're saving money either side.
Yep.
I think that's a smart idea.
We can revisit that.
Okay.
I don't think the analysis is going to change.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, but it's
right.
I think it's worth a shot.
I priced out some of these modulars a year and a half ago, and for what the school has spent on architect fees and design fees, they could have already bought like a couple thousand square feet worth of modulars and had them set up.
The modular itself is not bad, it's the site work that goes with it.
The site work will cost more than the modular.
Right.
I think they want to take the open space and create classrooms.
But then the argument that the building isn't going to last all that long, even if it only lasts 15, 20 years, you have the site work
The site
under it,
work's
so you
right.
can knock down your
Right.
crappy modular and put another crappy modular on it, and you're paying
And the
less
site
than
work's
cost
already
of the
been-
interest.
How long has Raymond had their modulars?
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess it doesn't really
true.
matter.
UNH
We're getting
stretches
them
them for
off
25
topic.
years.
We are getting off topic.
Yeah, well, before we move on, I just wanted to kind of reiterate and something that Michelle had said about, people are still reeling from the pandemic and economic losses and job losses and things like that. And I think it's important, again, that we keep in mind that over the last year or so, the select board on this town has been dealing with a record number of tax abatement applications and unpaid property tax bills. And remember, when the town takes people's houses, and it does happen, it doesn't just happen immediately. It takes 2 years of non-payment for you to lose your house. So the people that lost their jobs at the beginning of the pandemic, they're not losing their house yet, but it will happen. The tax abatements, record levels last year, and we're going to be seeing that again this year, is what my understanding from the select board.
And that's true of all over New Hampshire, and Nottingham
Everywhere.
is one of the
Probably over the country, actually.
Yeah.
That's
Not
like
The
saying
mortgage.
that's the best form of
It's not,
cancer.
you know, isolated.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So just keep in the back of your head.
All right.
You know, if you raise property taxes, people lose their homes.
Yeah, I know. Is there anything else you want to
I just want to
discuss?
say
I
one
think.
thing. Nottingham is still one of the most sought-after towns to move to. As a realtor, I can tell you that. And the education system is considered to be really good at the school here. So, and with people wanting to live here, and that drives up your property, your property value.
That'd be great if I wanted to sell my house, but I don't.
Well,
And if
right.
people move here because they
The
want to
tax
send their
rate.
kids to this school, what you get is you get people that move here to put their kids in the school, and then they show up at the school board meeting, they demand new this, new that, do this, spend all this money on this. I moved here for this school, I want this, I want that. And then when their kids graduate, they go, well, these property taxes are too high, I'm moving to the other town. I see it
Right.
every day in Durham with professors. They move in, they go to Oyster River School, they say it's the best thing ever. And then they say, and I'm leaving when my kid graduates because I can't afford the
Right.
taxes.
That's
I
why
see a
we
lot of
moved
doctors
here.
do that
Yeah.
too at the hospital I work in.
Affordability, basically.
Yeah.
That's why you want to move here. You look at the,
All right.
towns
Yeah.
side by side, and just, higher
I moved
taxes.
here, I made a map
So,
of the tax
all right,
rates.
we're
in
not
all the
really
towns.
here
This
to
was the
resolve
lowest.
these problems.
Yeah,
Because
agree.
they're not they're
They're a big
ancillary to us. So.
Well, we have control over budgeting in this town and ultimately
Right, well,
spending.
right.
We
We
should
have
think about the
control over the
consequences of
budget.
spending.
We have control over the budget and spending, and we're recommending whether they do it or not. They don't even have a plan. So
Right.
they
there
need
anything
to
else
do,
on the agenda?
the plan is separate. Yeah.
Is there anything else on the agenda?
Can I just?
Proposed meeting
Can I talk about
schedule
budget?
and then other business and
So
roundtable.
let's kind of, yeah,
We're talking about
we
Yeah.
do need to talk about our proposed meeting schedule. That's kind of important.
Yep.
All right, I did send out last year's schedule, and then I just threw in a bunch of
Do
all
you know
the,
if the dates for when everything has to happen in January?
I didn't go through and double
They're-
check those. I assume they're pretty close to what they were last year.
They're on the New Hampshire Municipal Association website. You have to, in their search bar, search for SB2
Yep.
2022, and it'll have
I got a page, 5 pages of pertinent stuff for our budget committee on those dates, and I can just read off.
Do you have the 22?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
For example, Friday, January 7 is the last day for voters to petition warrant articles. Tuesday, January 11 is the last day for, I'm sorry, the 7th is for articles that have a warrant proposing a bond. And on the 11th
What,
is
so,
the deadline for all petition warrant articles. On the the 18th of January is the last day to hold a public meeting last day to hold a public hearing on the annual budget. So that would be town and school now that we're SB2.
right, that's becomes part of the problem. We get compressed.
When's
At the very end.
deliberative Week.
Yeah.
And January 27 is the last day for the budget committee to deliver copies of the budget to the governing body. January 28 is the last day for filing for declaration of candidacy for those wanting to join our committee. Saturday, February 5th is the earliest day for the first session of town meeting, so our deliberative session must be held between the 5th of February and the 12th of February, 12th being the last Saturday, to have a deliberative session. And March 8 is the town ballot vote. Anything else you need to know?
That's all on the website, right? On the website,
It is,
the
yeah.
SB2?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's, what you're looking for is the 2022 SB2 March town meeting agenda or calendar.
Thank you.
Yep.
here. So,
Does that line up pretty close to last year, or?
I couldn't keep track.
So the 18th is the deadline for public hearing for both.
So
So
that,
they kind of slip back in there.
so deadline for public
Squish
hearing
everything in the end.
18th.
Can be here every
So,
day.
okay.
I'm just kidding.
So we have a there's a Thursday, the 16th. Well, that doesn't really have to be a Thursday. Actually, no, that's a public hearing, so yeah, it would be a Thursday. So we could do the 16th as the last day, but then what are the other? Go away. I don't want you.
So were there some Thursdays that this room's not available?
You know what? There
times?
potentially is.
Second
but-
Thursday of every month,
but-
but you could boot them.
Right, we could get to boot them because we have priority.
Get out.
It was the Republican committee, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it will
I
become,
think Kelly Delaire suggested that you did not do that.
It would be grand if you could we could just not meet those weeks if possible in October and November if we don't have to have a meeting every week.
I
mean,
we're gonna have to.
I don't
in
know,
December.
it's always been the rule that
No, I know,
we get priority of this room because,
pointing out what Kelly Delaire
Yeah.
suggested.
yeah. So, all right, so you said the 16th was the,
17th of October is one of them. Oh, sorry, I think that might be the 14th.
The other thing that's beneficial is coordinating with the school board calendar, their meeting calendars, so that we can have a meeting.
they always meet on
Not the
Wednesdays.
immediate day after,
Yeah.
perhaps the next week after.
Carolyn, you're gonna have your work cut out for you.
Well, last year we ended up having meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yep.
A few times, you know.
Remember on Zoom?
Yeah. I mean,
That was easier.
we had a lot of meetings. And it was just in that short, I mean, we probably had the same amount of meetings, but it was just so
All crunched
compressed.
in, yeah.
All right, so,
Maybe we could, is there a set time when the school and the town bring their first budget draft to us? Maybe we can just
that's
ask for
sort
that
of what we,
earlier.
right. Asking for it earlier is one thing, but getting it earlier is another.
Especially when they don't have a business administrator.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's
that was
gonna
just-
be tough.
who's doing the financials? If this guy, well, he's still
hasn't
there.
left yet.
Well, the principal.
What's
He
that?
hasn't left yet.
Put together a budget.
Yeah,
Superintendent?
well, yeah, but the
Nate's gonna do
business
it?
administrator and the superintendent are gonna have to.
Hopefully not.
All he does is just look at it and
Please
Yeah.
hope not.
gotta cut this.
We have a joint board meeting on Monday to figure that out.
All right, so today, so last year, we tried to do third quarter town financials and year-end school financials on October 1st. So that's, so that wouldn't work for third, so we'd have, the 7th, we could do third quarter town financials. We should be able to do year-end financials at any point now for the school.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do October 7th.
For the third quarter or the year end?
Do we
I
want-
mean, it's probably tighter for the town, so I don't know. If
Well,
that gives them enough time to do their third quarter, but.
And Chris usually whips that's, I mean, he's got it, it's just done, basically, it's, you do a report. You know, I don't know why it's so difficult for the school.
The year end wouldn't be difficult for us.
Right, no, I mean, but I mean, to just run a report, like, a couple days after the court closes. I mean, at that point, they should be able to do, second quarter.
Yeah, so ours started
Oh, sorry.
July 1st.
Oh, sorry,
so
first
you
quarter,
could
sorry,
do-
first quarter.
Ours is done more on like, we have to run
Yeah.
one every month, so we could do essentially end of September if we have somebody to run it.
The answer that I've always gotten from the school board is they can't release that information until it's been audited.
No, not for the.
No, not for the,
Quarter financials?
They're just an
Year-end
unaudited.
financials.
Yeah, what you're gonna get for year end is gonna be unaudited, because it's not audited, we don't have our audit one yet.
Yeah, it always used to be that they wouldn't even release it to us.
no, because they wanted to review it at a school board meeting too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. It's, to me, it makes zero sense because we should be able to get it right away.
So why don't we plan a meeting for October 7th, and we'll bring at least the year end unaudited. If I can get the end of September over or not.
That would be good. Okay.
I mean,
so-
there's really not gonna be a lot in the end of September because.
Right, it's only
School
one
just
quarter.
started.
It's just started, yeah.
Okay, so this actually should go here.
And then how often did we meet in October last year?
Just October,
Once.
yeah, just once.
First.
It will be gone the last week of October. That I know.
All right.
Our next one
so-
won't be till November 4th, I think.
So
November 4th?
23rd, 30th.
Okay.
we should be able to work on the schedule too, to finalize it probably by then. Do we need to meet before that, I guess is the question. Do you want to do,
Before October 7th?
yeah,
No.
okay.
We can meet then and then vote on the, like, finalized schedule. If you want to do that, we can work on the schedule.
You have a tape
I
measure.
brought them up for everybody.
Oh, my God.
Did you shake it?
No, I dropped it on the way in, no.
You could have said you shook it. All right, so,
Can we plan at least the next meeting after that, so we can.
yeah, let's plan at least a couple meetings so that we have an idea. So last year we met October 1st and November 5th.
Mm-hmm.
November 4th?
So we could-
Thursday.
Thursday, November 4th.
Do you have what was on the?
There wasn't a lot of stuff on it. It was more of finalized schedule, town and school updates, and committee reports. So by that point, if we don't have first quarter for the school, we should be able to have it then. All right, then the next meeting after that was December 1st,
Mm-hmm.
which was a Tuesday. That's when we,
That seems like a big gap. I'm wondering if we should try to do one like the 18th or something. Because then we
Right.
ended up with 2 meetings a week in December, I think.
right, if we could do something, because we were trying to get default budgets and start looking at the default budgets early.
Those are easier to put together.
Right, because they're easier to put together. Actually, the town said that seemed to work out pretty good, and I think they were talking about that at our SAU committee to try and do it that way too.
So maybe the 18th for default for both?
Is that a bad Thursday for the,
November 18th?
No,
That's good.
good.
November 18th?
Mhm.
so like default budgets?
We can revisit this, but I mean, I think if we plan for now, default budgets for both.
Yep.
One thing I would suggest is when things heat up later on and we have those long meetings, that maybe we start at 6:30 instead of 7. When the time
That's a good
comes.
idea.
Yeah, no, I.
That's what we've done before in the past. We've
I'm-
bumped time
I'd
up.
be fine with that. I mean, people,
I know.
everybody, basically, except for Lorraine, everybody on the committee actually said 7. You were the only one that said, I hope it's 6:30.
I'm fine with earlier, but then, you know, my circumstances are different.
Yeah, right, I would be fine with 6:30.
I could do
At this
6.
point, I'm not commuting to work, so.
So is it 6:30 or 7?
We'll do
No,
7
I'm
now,
talking
and
about
then
later
once,
7.
yeah.
No. I just throw that out there.
We're just trying to get the dates right now.
So then meet weekly or twice a week in December?
Yeah, probably twice a week in December.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So December starts with Thursday, the 2nd.
The 7th,
Tuesday, the
the
seventh.
Thursday,
9th.
December 2nd is what you're thinking for the next meeting?
Thursday, the next meeting from
From today?
tonight, Sandra?
He's talking December.
No, we're just looking at the budget
That's
going
gonna
down
be a
the,
long ways away, that's what I was gonna say.
No, the next,
No,
No, no,
that's-
no.
it's a
the
long
next
way.
meeting from tonight would be Thursday, October 7th,
Oh, Thursday, October 7th, okay.
Mm-hmm.
and then Thursday, November 4th. Then Thursday, November 18th.
November 18th, you said?
Yeah, 18th. It frees up Thanksgiving.
mm-hmm.
And then December 2nd, right?
Right.
And then December 2nd.
That makes more sense. I thought you were saying all the way December 2nd. I thought that was a good idea.
No. So if we
So we're not
start,
doing September 30th, right?
No.
That's just proposed.
That's just an available time if we needed to use it.
I was just looking, yeah,
Mhm.
I was just looking at the dates for
Okay.
what Tuesdays and Thursdays were.
So it's
So-
not etched in stone, that's all.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to work out. So if we start meeting in December twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's the 2nd, the 7th, the 9th, the 14th, the 16th, the 21st, 23rd.
I would ask for not the 23rd, but.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing them out there. Yeah, I would hope not the 23rd, but, what does that fall in with these other dates here? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So,
there's just one in between them, December 17th and December 29th.
no, I meant from the meeting calendar stuff. Last day for voters to present applications to select board. Last day to accept petitions amending zoning ordinance. So all that stuff's really in January.
So you're looking at having the public hearings probably, maybe one on the 13th, one on the 18th.
We're not a public, so why does this not say public hearings? I pull up the right. SB2, March meeting town calendar, 2022. Last day to hold public, oh, these are January 17th. I thought somebody says December.
No, June.
Okay, that's why I was confused. All
Is
right,
it the
yeah.
17th or the 18th?
Sorry, Monday, January 17th says last day to hold first public hearing by planning board.
That's a planning.
Sorry, all right, Tuesday, January 18th, last day to hold public hearing on annual budget. You gotta read the whole thing.
That's a Tuesday.
That's a
so
Tuesday.
Might want to plan for it the previous Thursday in case we get a snowstorm.
We need two though.
Hmm?
We need two.
We need to have two,
And one for the town and one
two,
for the school.
right.
So that's what I'm saying, if you plan for, you probably shouldn't plan for the 18th, so you really need like the 11th and the 13th. And then the 18th could be a snow day,
Or have them back to back.
the same night.
That
Yeah,
would be- That's a long night.
That's
So,
ending sometime the next afternoon.
Yeah, right?
When does the budget submission date? When is the, so the 11th, so basically they can't be before the 11th,
So in between the 11th and the 18th?
right?
One curious thing that I noticed on that schedule is that the last day to hold a public hearing on a bond over 100,000 is also the 18th.
Is the 18th?
Yeah.
That makes sense,
Well, if,
because it falls in that budget period, that compressed week between the 18th and the 11th and the 18th. That's a busy week.
my point is, if we had our public hearing before the bond hearing, that might be kind of a tough.
Well, I think last year we scheduled our bond hearing before, we purposely picked a date before. Because the school district would have the bond hearing, the budget committee would have the budget hearing.
That would work better.
So we have the 14th and the 16th available.
Or
Oh,
which
sorry, that's,
month are you
oh,
in?
darn, that's wrong.
December?
Mm-hmm.
That's December. So the 11th and the 13th,
Or you could potentially do 12th and 13th, because that's, school board meets the 1st and 3rd.
hmm?
Or you could do 12th and 13th, because the school board doesn't meet that week.
I was sticking to Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, so I would say 11th and 13th, but the 18th is a snow day.
Yeah,
The Tuesday and
But the
Thursday?
17th is also a holiday too, for the town at least.
Yeah.
What have we set up for meeting dates in December? Have we done that?
I think we said the 2nd, the 7th, the 9th,
14th,
14th, 16th, 21st.
23rd.
Tuesdays and
Maybe
Thursdays?
not the 21st.
Yeah, not the
yeah,
23rd.
hopefully not the
14,
23rd.
16, and 23?
7, 9, 14, 16,
21.
21,
23.
23, optional,
23 optional.
right?
Yeah, no.
We're just gonna, it's, right, hopefully not that
No.
date, but,
Yeah.
I mean, we're just throwing days out there at this point.
And then the following week, the 27th to the 31st, anything going on then?
I think we should try not to schedule that week.
I agree.
That week-
That's too much.
Right.
Just asking, just
Right.
asking.
We'll schedule,
It would be easier for you to come up with a list. That's what I feel like maybe Timothy did.
A list?
I can't,
Come
yeah,
up with a list. If you came up with a list and presented it at the next meeting, maybe that would.
right.
Yeah,
right.
that's
We
it.
have something to start with now. We can-
Yeah.
I can help you if you need it.
That's what I was, I think
We're
that's
just
what I
trying
said
to get the
earlier.
dates together so that, to put them on people's calendars, and then we'll put things in place and see if
For
we need
those
them all.
dates.
Hopefully, we won't need them all.
We didn't need them all last year.
No, we were able to cancel a couple.
Mm-hmm.
So did we set something in January?
I think we're saying the 4th and the 6th, and then possibly the 11th and 13th for public
The
hearings.
11th and 13th for public hearings, most likely,
Yeah.
because that's really what we're tied to.
And the 18th is a snow day.
And the last day, right? And then we can present it at the next meeting and
Yep.
vote on it. Sounds good. Is there any other business? Right on time.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, can I bring up a topic that, if we're done with dates?
I think so.
I personally found last year to be very frustrating from the standpoint that I believe as a budget committee, we should give some guidance to the school board in terms of what we expect to see for a budget, instead of the other way around. We didn't make any cuts really until the end. we know that salaries and benefits are gonna be 5.5% increase. They were last year, and they're still on the same contract.
The same contract, yeah.
So given that, I think we should ask for a level funded budget for the rest of the items. I could go to a 1% increase, but I think we have to really, if we want to have a responsible budget, and we call this our budget, even though we don't prepare the budget. So I found that interesting last year also. It's our budget, but it really isn't.
Right.
It's a school budget. It's, they put it together. And I feel really strongly about this. I just feel like we're working in arrears.
I don't disagree with you. I think that from a budgeting perspective, that the school is responsible to propose a good budget, to bring to us a good budget that has factual-based budget, you know, with data to back it up. Not getting that, I think doing something like saying, all right, this is what you get, you know.
Try to go for that.
Right, right.
Give them some parameters to
I
work
think it's a
with.
great idea to kind of give them expectations, is what they expect.
We don't want to see an 8.8%
Right, we don't, you know,
increase. I don't, personally. I'll just tell you that right up front. I'm going to be a little more aggressive this year, and that, I just
well,
don't, I don't like the process.
Are you making a proposal? A motion?
I make a motion that, aside from salaries and benefits, really of the employees, because that's the principal, that's, you know, all your support staff and whatnot. I think a reasonable, that we offer 1% above the salaries and all the benefits.
You mean on things
All
that
items-
Aside
all
from-
of the other stuff?
Yeah, all other items in the budget. So basically, it's a 6.5.
So we don't want to give them any encouragement to lower the increases in salary costs?
We can't do anything because it's under contract, right?
It's a contract.
For right
That's
now,
a
until
con-
it,
it's a binding
until it
Well,
Part of the
expires.
problem is
You
there's
can't cut
contracts
that
and stuff
unless
like that.
Right.
Unless you cut teachers. And
Right,
Yeah.
well, last year, we
And I'm not
cut their
suggesting-
budget 0.7%, and magically, they found positions that they didn't fill, and they managed to absorb that 0.7% budget cut entirely through salary reductions.
Not for the
And-
benefit of the education of the children of the school.
I mean, is there a measurable
I'm not
decrease in
saying
the
this is-
educational quality due to
I
it?
agree with you.
It's
I'm
got
not
to
saying
pale in
We're mainly on
comparison to
Zoom.
remote
I was
learning
at
and
Zoom
wearing
too at
masks
home
all
with my
day.
kids, so
Well,
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
have
know.
anything.
for a lot
Actually,
of
we're
it.
fully.
I'm not saying
So,
this is
all right.
achievable.
Is there-
Not the whole year, but
That's
we
my
were on Zoom
motion.
Is
for
there a
while.
second?
Enough to,
Do you, when you say salaries and things, or do you want to specify anything that's not union mandated contractually? Because there are salaries that are not union mandated raises and things like that.
I think we should
How
look
about
at
we say,
everything.
aside from union mandated raises or contractual raises that we supposedly can't do anything about, aside from those things, a 1% increase cap. I would say
That's-
0% increase
So,
cap. but-
so basically, that's the default budget.
No, not necessarily.
But
It's
that's,
close,
that's,
yeah.
right, but that's what you're gonna hear back.
The
I'm just,
default budget last year was higher.
right, exactly,
Right.
So, yeah, we'll
exactly,
get you the
because,
default budget.
because the default budget
It was a 10% increase. not
isn't
a-
controlled by the budget committee. So, but, all right. so
Well, we
they-
can certainly
so-
tell them that that's what we expect and see what they
Do you want
bring.
to just say 6.5 instead of, 5.5 and,
You
You're
want to
making
limit
a
the
motion.
overall budget increase to 6.5%?
as a starting point. I know they're not going to come back with that.
They're gonna come
We're
up
sending
with
them-
higher, so why don't you start
No, no.
lower?
No, he's saying with the
always
5%
Yeah.
increase that we
Yeah.
can't, we don't
It's a
have any.
negotiation.
We have no
That's
control of the
6.5.
5.5%.
That's 1.5 over the budget. Because you're not, we don't want to touch anything that's
Oh.
like contractual. We can't do anything about
I
that.
guess we're sending a message.
Well,
to-
the
so
math
that when
doesn't
they're
work that way, though.
Putting
Yeah.
their budget together, they're thinking that, some of the stuff they want is what I call a wish list in many cases, having been an educator for a long time, and, I hate to see salaries cut, again, as somebody that didn't get a raise for 7 years, my last 7 years of teaching, no raise. So, but anyways, I just think it's a good start. 6.5 overall.
Your original suggestion was far better about having, there's these contractually mandated increases, and then
Plus
everything
1%.
that is not that, plus 1% for things that are not that. That's better than saying
Right.
6.5
Was on a
total.
budget that
So,
But what's your
Include
motion gonna
all-
be?
yeah, right. So
Yeah.
restate your motion so Lorraine
So
can
we
record.
can-
I can read what I have.
Okay.
Made a motion to offer a 1% increase above anything that is outside of the salaries and contracts for the school board.
Can we do that and just say
Yeah,
outside
that's
of contractual salary obligations?
Well,
I like what she has.
I personally believe that, support staff and people like that deserve something, I think they're just as important in education as the teachers.
Right, but I think that,
I think we should focus on the one thing that we agreed on last year was in the end, the general cut in the budget, and then let the school board figure out where that is. I'm a little nervous about the idea
That's what we're doing.
of cutting the
This is
salaries.
to try to
of
avoid
people
that.
who
No,
are-
we're not cutting.
We're not cutting
That's
salaries.
what we're trying,
We're trying to avoid that. We don't want that.
I mean, ultimately, if you
Not
do
cutting-
want to
cutting-
reduce the
cutting-
budget in
cutting
this
off-
town, that's what's
cutting
going to
any
have to
option
happen.
for increase, or just putting a limit on people who aren't contractually entitled to it.
I mean, it's just more of a goal for them to reach, saying this is what the budget
That-
committee really wants.
That's all it is right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a goal. I mean, whether they can do it or not, but we're letting Carol know that, this is what
It's guidance.
we want from
Budget.
it. This is what
I
we're
propose a
thinking.
budget to include contractual salaries and benefits, as well as other salaries and benefits of all other staff, plus 1%.
I mean, we can do that, but that's not, you're never going to get the tax rate down or control increases if you
Do
don't.
we have anyone to second, if that's his motion, do we have anyone to second it?
You don't have it?
I don't have anything.
You don't, right, you don't, I think they're still trying to work out the motion. yet,
Okay.
So,
Trying to give.
What if I rephrase
yeah,
it?
we will make sure you have the motion. We will make sure you have it.
We have a lot of time to think about it, so it's already 8:30.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll
so,
think,
all
I'll
right.
think of it, I'll.
Okay.
Email it to you.
Yeah, we got time.
All right, so
I'll email.
you're holding off till
Yep.
next week,
Yep.
or whatever.
I like
Okay.
the idea, though. It's
All
better
right.
than doing stuff
All
at the
right,
end.
so he withdraw that
We go through a lot
motion,
of
just to
meetings.
hit the delete key.
Yeah,
Like the idea of going through a line item by line item, looking at $500 here, and that is, to me, just a waste of time, honestly. You're looking at peanuts.
But that was the only way that I could lower tax increases for people in this town, because everything else, I was told this is contractually obligated. So I have to go
But
through
it-
line by line and ask
it
what
does
is
add up.
actually
A
cuttable.
lot of it is, but
Right.
it adds up. It's not a bad way. I mean, that's the budget committee, that's what we signed up to do.
you're just trying to
That's-
give them a direction.
I'll just tell you, you're lucky I'm not Gene Reed, because Gene Reed wants to wipe the entire budget document and go through every year from scratch. to clean the lines,
Gene.
so-
Does anybody
I'm not
else have
proposing
any other
that.
business?
Okay, so, yeah, does anybody have any quick roundtable, whatever, any other business?
Looking forward to it.
Sure.
Oh, wait, this might be a question that Lorraine can answer. Do we know anything more about potentially doing meeting minute revisions using some sort of collaborative editing
I'm not
tool?
sure, I'm gonna talk to Chris.
Okay, because it would be super awesome
About-
if we could get into the
about
21st
this
century with that.
anyway.
I know the concern was that it could be like we're meeting secretly or something like that, but if there's just some sort of thing where we can edit a document and people can see our edits.
I don't think you can do that.
That's why you're elected, that position.
But I mean, functionally, it's the same thing
Right.
as,
Well,
The minute-
what I do
the
for
meeting
zoning-
taker, I mean, that's
what
why
do for
she's-
zoning,
Or else we wouldn't have one.
Actually, it's
Oh.
planning, might be planning, there's a woman who likes to
Well,
like
still,
do
it's nice for a third
So what I do is I
third person to
email
do
it
it,
to
you know?
her first, and that's what I had suggested for you.
okay.
And then you can make all the corrections you want, send it back to me, and then that becomes the document, and I'll send it
I
on
know.
to us.
But if we can identify, if you can tell me what RSA says we can't use,
I
like,
don't know. That's
91A.
not-
I know. Do you know?
91A.
Okay.
It becomes a public meeting if you do that.
Okay. Because I mean,
91A:2 or
I I know plenty of state reps, like, we can get the law changed. so
Call
that
the
we
New
can
Hampshire
use
Municipal
modern-
Association.
modern technology
Then
to
get
make
the
our
law
lives
changed,
easier.
get the
Yeah.
law changed.
I'm trying to eat some
That's-
pizza.
You know,
I'm
that's,
planning to see if we can
Yeah.
do.
because
Maybe
it's
with the grant
stupid,
money.
but
Yeah.
whatever.
Because of COVID.
I can't hear you.
There's a lot of
Maybe
stupid.
with the grant money they have, they can fund some of the things they want to do in the budget. I don't know. Look at
We're
all.
extremely restricted on what we can do.
Yeah, I know, but just look at every possibility. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Michael, you said you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make mention to Tom LeVay and to Michelle, when you're trying to put together this proposal for an approach to the budget, keep in mind that tuition increases are not within the purview of the school board to decide. They are what is given to them. That's a major, major part of the budget.
Okay.
And the other major, major part of the budget is the special education area. So just
All right.
keep that in mind when
Yeah,
you
no.
when you go looking for ways to.
Does the school board have any power to negotiate tuitions with schools?
They do.
Okay.
They absolutely do, and that's what they do.
Well,
Right,
they're not
but
doing a very good
honestly-
job of it. but-
Honestly, Tom, it's cheaper for us to contract all those high school students
I know.
than it is to pay for our
I
elementary
am well
kids.
aware of that,
So,
but you should always negotiate things.
Yeah,
You shouldn't
yeah.
just take whatever amount
You
Dover High
don't-
School gives us.
The contracts are not written that you get to negotiate each year on what you pay.
Right,
There's
they're-
caps or.
they're multi-years and things like that.
Multi-year
too.
contracts.
And do people ever like reach
The
out to
Dover
like,
contract is up for negotiation this year, so we will be renegotiating the Dover contract.
do
And that
people
will
ever
be on
ask
the-
like Raymond
article.
or any other towns if they can take students and what price they would charge?
We would have to, so we have two contracted schools. We could contract with a different school or a third school. And the Dover contract is up this year, so we could look into doing that.
I just mean in general, once a year in the summer,
Yeah.
go to each surrounding town and say,
Right.
how many students could you accept? What would you charge?
it depends on how their contracts were written, so right now they don't have that.
Well, I'm not saying,
We can't have
Existing
15
contracts.
schools of record.
Hmm?
We can't have 15 different schools of record.
why not?
Impossible.
We've got students going to Dover, we got students going to Co-Brown, we have a student going to Portsmouth. I don't see why we couldn't send some students to Raymond. If
Someone
Raymond's
just
willing to take
graduated from
15
Pinkerton,
students at a lower price than we charge for other places,
We had
then
two choices.
that makes
They
financial
can
sense.
like petition.
Which just been
Parents
different.
Yeah.
petitions.
I think anybody,
Thank you.
Specific circumstances
Down to
for
whether parents
Yeah.
choose.
their children, and they're
how many
usually
parents
cheaper,
would choose
so
to send
Portsmouth
their
is
children
actually
to
cheaper
Raymond.
than
Then
Co-Brown or
it comes
Dover, so
down
then
to how
they
many
can
parents choose
tuition
to
it.
send their children to Co-Brown
But
or
it's because
Dover.
they had a relative or a parent.
well, we
who worked
can
in the school,
send them
so
to
it
whatever
was-
one is cheapest.
Dover,
Transport them.
Dover just got a new school.
Exeter too, I believe there's one.
Send the
This
children.
is probably more expensive, but we don't have anybody at Exeter right now.
Right.
But I think
And we
there
But we
can't
can
have-
charge extra.
wasn't Nottingham only gonna pay the
All right.
cap?
Are we ready to wrap this up, everybody?
Yeah.
Nottingham only pay like a cap.
Yeah, all right, was there any other relevant,
Or, yeah,
For
if they
Exeter, I
go,
thought,
if they went to someplace like that. they would
yes.
go.
is there any
That's what
other,
I think both.
Because I know
Portsmouth and
someone that's going
Pinkerton.
there, I believe.
is there any other relevant business? All right,
Motion to
All right.
adjourn.
I second that motion.
okay. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, it's
Almost.
8:34, Lorraine.
I'm gonna wait 30 seconds. I'm gonna go.
What? I don't like your clock. It's 8:35.
8:35, I
Yeah.
hear you.